And it looks like we are live. Jesse Schule here from jesseschule.com. It's Monday, January the 30th, and 10:30 p.m. Pacific time. All the games are in the books for the day. Just one premium pick for me today in the NBA. Had the Washington Wizards on the road at San Antonio. Little bit of a low-hanging fruit, I like to call it. Of course, two teams trending in opposite directions. I ended up getting an early line of Washington minus 4.5. That game quickly got bet up to 6.5. Came back down before game time to 5.5. But I still got a little bit of closing line value there. The Wizards, of course, came into the game, 5 straight wins. 11 of their last 16. Spurs, 5 straight losses, 1-10 in their last 11. And the closing line value didn't matter a bit. The Wizards ended up winning the game easily by 20 plus points. And yeah, NBA is rolling along. I did mention yesterday that if you go to sportscapping.com, I am the #1 all-time NBA handicapper based on win percentage with over 1,000 games played since 2016. So yeah, 1-0 card for today. Certainly pleasant to come on here and not have to explain away any losses. Although I did give out a free pick on Texas Tech, and they did cover, or they won and covered in overtime. But my free pick was actually Texas Tech for the first half. They were getting a half a point there, and they were losing significantly at halftime, actually. So I was a little off on that for that first half free pick. And I'm looking at tomorrow's games in college basketball, and we got some interesting matchups going on tomorrow. Revenge is the theme of the day tomorrow. 3 big revenge games, starting with West Virginia and TCU. I guess West Virginia beat TCU 74-65 on January 18th. Home court's a big deal in this series. The home team is 9-1 straight up in the last 10 head-to-head meetings. Strange to see TCU is just a short favorite here. They're only -3 at home in this revenge spot against a West Virginia team that isn't that good on the road. I guess the reason for the short line is Mike Miles, the leading scorer for TCU, is out indefinitely. He played just 4 minutes at Mississippi State in an 81-74 overtime loss. And without the leading scorer, it'll be interesting to see how TCU plays. I think they'll be just fine at home, given the strong home court advantage in this series. I'd lean towards TCU here. TCU is 7-1-1 against the spread in their last 9 home games. West Virginia just 3-8 against the spread in their last 11 overall. And I did mention home court advantage being a big deal in this series. The home team is 13-3 against the spread in the last 16 head-to-head meetings between these teams. So take a close look at TCU -3. And as I've said many times, if a line is -3 or less, I often look to the money line if I can get it at the right price. So that's another thing you might want to consider. Another big revenge game going on tomorrow is the Duke Blue Devils. Lost 81-70 at Wake Forest in December. Duke opened at -8. They've been bet up now as high as -9.5. Duke is strong at home. They're 10-0 at home. Wake is just 3-4 on the road. That said, the history is not so great for home teams in this series. The road team is covered in 4 of the last 5 head-to-head meetings. I think it's too many points. I'll probably. I don't think I'd take Wake here, but I think I'm going to stay away from Duke. Asked to cover 8-9 points. I think it's a little too much. This Duke team doesn't look as strong without Coach K. And the next revenge game we got on tap tomorrow, Kansas State. They beat Kansas 83-82 in overtime just a couple weeks ago. And that, of course, was at Kansas State. Now they're at Lawrence, and the Wildcats lost by 19 points last February at Lawrence, Kansas. Again, home court is a big deal. Kansas is 10-1 straight up at home this season. The home team is 22-7-2 in the last 31 head-to-head meetings between these teams. And based on how close it was at Kansas State, you'd have to like Kansas in this revenge spot. It's not going to be cheap. I believe Kansas is -7 for this game, but that is the way I would lean. I don't think that game's going to make my card tomorrow, but I would have leans on TCU and Kansas in these revenge spots. And I guess we'll move on to the Super Bowl. I mentioned yesterday that I did have Travis Kelce to score touchdowns in his last two playoff games. And last year he played in 3 playoff games, scored touchdowns in all 3 of those games. And I said if the price was less than 170, I would be taking Kelce again in the Super Bowl. Well, it's even money for Travis Kelce to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl right now at Bet365. I expect that price to go up, but certainly worth grabbing it now. That will make my Super Bowl card for sure. Too good to pass up on Travis Kelce, even money, anytime touchdown. And looking at the Super Bowl matchup, like I said, I may or may not play a side in this game. I probably will stick, or I certainly will have plenty of props, maybe the total. And but I'm looking at it, and this quarterback matchup has me intrigued. Jalen Hurts. I'm looking at his passing yards total for the Super Bowl, 242.5. Seems like a high number. He hasn't thrown for that many yards since his shoulder injury, and he's gone under that total in 7 of his last 9 games overall. For those of you who like Philly and expect them to come in and dominate with their offensive line and run the ball and jump out to a lead, it's probably unlikely that he will reach that passing yards total if they win or if they're successful running the ball, and it may not be likely if they're losing either. So that's something to keep an eye on. Before we get going, or before we get out of here, I will touch on closing line value. As I mentioned, I did get the Wizards at -4.5 on the overnight line last night, and I was kind of hoping that Washington would win the game by 6 or 7 points so I could really make the point about closing line value. I have heard other professional handicappers say that closing line value doesn't matter and people blow it out of proportion. I have to say I totally disagree with that. I mean, if you think about it logically, everybody who bets on sports is steered toward winning 50% of their bets. That's the way the lines work. That's how the casinos make money. If the public wins too much more than 50% of the time, the casinos are losing money. The system works. That's why the casinos are so big and fancy and they make so much money. And the chances are you're going to be hitting somewhere close to 50% of your bets. If you can hit 53, 54, 55% of your bets, you're doing really well. In fact, most professional handicappers, successful professional handicappers, are still only winning 55% of their bets. But if you take that win percentage and you add 1 to 2 points for every play, and then you start, instead of these half-point losses and 1-point losses being victories, if that only affects 5% of your games, that still bumps you up from 55% to 60%, which puts you in elite class, which is where I am at. And one of the reasons for that is I certainly get the best of the lines 99% of the time. Anybody who follows my picks will know that if they wake up too late and they go to bet the games, they're not getting as good a line as I would get on the overnight line, or getting in there early. And exploiting soft lines is certainly how I like to make my money. And so closing line value is something that I think everybody should put emphasis on when they're betting. Let's see, what else do we got here? We got the promo at the bottom, scrolling at the bottom. Limited time offer, 1 month, only $99 at jesseschule.com. You can get that at my website. All the picks for only $3 a day. Great value with the Super Bowl coming up and college conference tournaments coming up at the end of the month. So no better time than right now to jump in on that offer. And yeah, we will be continuing these live streams every day, reviewing the day's card, all the bets, win or loss. I'm sure some of you are looking forward to having me come in here after a losing day and having to explain why I made certain bets. Thankfully, that didn't happen today. Let's hope it doesn't happen tomorrow, but it does happen. It will happen. You can't win them all unless you're a superstar on gambling Twitter and Instagram. Those guys tend to win all their bets completely undocumented. But for us pros that are documented, we're happy to hit 60% or better is what we're going for. So that's still plenty of losses to talk about. And yeah, I can't say I'm looking forward to it, but it's part of the process, and we'll certainly come on here and acknowledge after a losing day, and yeah, try to work out the kinks and figure out where we went wrong. But I don't see anybody in the chat. We're not getting any comments. We're only 12 minutes in, but with only one game to review today, not a lot to say. We'll pick it up tomorrow at 10:30 Pacific. And until then, look forward to seeing you later.